Yo, welcome back to the channel, guys. You know what it is. It is Reincarnation Coliseum Chapter 10. I told you we were going to talk about this. So without further ado, let us begin. It starts off with, the announcer saying that this is going to be the final battle. Of course, we know this is the final Heavenly King that we know of, which is Catastrophe. So the final fight is Mikigami versus Catastrophe. And of course, they're all in the waiting room. Mikigami and his slaves, they're all in the waiting room, and Mary says, be careful. But Marl chimes in and says, he did beat us, so wouldn't worry about it too much, and gives him a good luck kiss. Of course, this rouses up Mary. Mary's like, it wasn't so much of me thinking he would lose, but he could still get hurt. So of course, they're nagging at each other while Alice steps in and smacks Mikigami, calling him a trash bastard, telling him, how can you defile me as a man and all this stuff. It's pretty funny to me because he calls Alice a little shit for her behavior and then lets her know, like, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't live up to your expectations, but I just don't lose. And of course she turns around and gets, with a little attitude like the brat she is. Then we move on to the stadium where the announcer's introducing the challengers. Mikigami is 3-0. The weakest gladiator in the Coliseum, while Catastrophe is one of the strongest in the Coliseum, being 8-0 with 8 different abilities she used to beat her opponents. So now it's kind of, what do we expect from this? I expect a landslide victory from Catastrophe, but it appears it doesn't turn that way. But before we get into that, we got a little side conversation with Marl stepping into the Coliseum and shocking Zulu for being there. And of course, she throws a bystander out of the way, and it's just funny because she's like, this seat's taken? No, okay, just gonna toss you out of the way and sit next to Zulu. And Zulu's like, is Mary coming? And Marl states that she said she wasn't gonna come because she wants to wait for him in the back in the waiting room to be like the first one. She's plotting already. Mary's plotting already to be serviced by Mikigami when he wins. Now, I say win because there's no way he can lose this with his copy skills so far. He may be the weakest, but his copy skill and his cunningness and strategy, it seems like that's his way of winning this. And of course, this is a beautiful panel right here of Marl being shown. Of course, there's some jealous motherfuckers in the crowd of Mikigami because Marl has such a banging body. And I mean, who wouldn't want to fuck that? We move on to his little entourage group who's been betting on him every time. And this bettor's like, if you win, I don't have to work anymore. And everyone's like calling him crazy. Like, these idiots are betting like their whole life savings on him. And of course, the payout is like 90 times the amount that it would be if you bet for Catastrophe. And of course, the others in the crowd are like, something fishy's going on here because there's no way the higher ups are letting this slide. The payout's too astronomical. But Zae-sama's just like, today's the day you die. She's not even worried about the payout. She's like, today's the day you die, so any type of payout is whatever. And then we move on to some dialogue from Catastrophe, and Catastrophe's like, these morons are just so loud, don't you agree? And Mikigami doesn't answer, but she comes in with, I'm not interested in the match, but more interested in how you fight. Now, we know how Mikigami fight. He's always a strategist when he goes into battles. He knows about the abilities, and then he succeeds by outsmarting his opponent. So she's like, don't die right away. And he happily obliges her. He's like, okay. And that self-confidence woos the crowd a little bit and shocks her because she's like, are you serious? But then he comes with, I got a question for you though. How did you get so many skills? And everyone kind of gets quiet. They're like whispering amongst each other, like, how? He's really asking something like that? That's a big secret reveal. And she's like, really? Just one question? Okay, I'll answer. And she says effort. Of course, that shocks the crowd and leaves them speechless for a little bit. And then they just come back with, sure, that's how you got your 100 skills, because through effort. Get out of here. You're a genius. And geniuses do things like that. You just wanted to lie to Mikigami and keep him in the dark. But Mikigami just brushes it off as, okay, well, you told me what you want to tell me. And she's like, are you sure? And if that's so, then like you promised, don't die. And she ignites 2 of her skills already. She throws fire and lightning projectiles right at Mikigami, and then he counters with water and wind projectiles, canceling them out. And of course, everyone's like in shock and they're just like, what the fuck is going on? But she comes out of nowhere with, you cleared level 1. All right, now here comes level 2. She uses earth and light projectiles as well as leveling up her lightning projectile to rank 2 to throw at Mikigami. Mikigami counters, right? He counters with a darkness, which is a new ability, this new skill. He counters with a darkness projectile, a lightning projectile, and of course he ranked up his own wind projectile to counter out the abilities. And so everyone's like, what is this exchange? This is like a superpower exchange going on here. And you know, Catastrophe's elements are being like canceled out. They're going so fast, but Catastrophe starts to think to herself that, you know, I've never shown my earth and light skills before. So when did he copy my ability? And just in an instant with no hesitation and chose the appropriate counter. So he must have been training with the skills to see what counters what. But she's like, there's no way he could do that unless, and you know, she's starting to think and she starts laughing and says he's really interested in here because she wants to know now, when did he copy her skills? He like steps back a little bit like, she knows, she must knew it. Like she must know something's up. I copied her abilities. And then she comes out of nowhere with, I used them recently the other day, which was downtown against one of the betters. She used her ability, but she's like, were you there by chance? She's like throwing all these theories out there. Like she didn't even notice you were there. She's throwing projectiles right at him and he's countering them every time. And she doesn't remember attacking him. So he was somewhere around there, but when he used his ability, but he doesn't say when he does it or how he did it. So now she's getting angry and she's like, if you don't tell me, and combines both her skill and lightning projectiles into one big projectile and charging it for Mikigami, and it ends on that page right there. You know, Saizo has been great with this manga so far. The illustration by Zunta has been great so far. I'm enjoying this. The odds are normally stacked against Mikigami, but again, I love his strategy, his cunningness, and everything else that he does. I highly recommend like reading this, getting into this. Overall, I give it a score of an 8.5. It's been fantastic. I can't wait for more. I'll try to cover more. As always, drop a like, drop a comment, tell me what you think of the chapter itself. Be on the lookout for the next one. Subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and of course, holla at your boy on socials. I will see you guys in the next video. Later.